8-year-old Lily skipped along the sidewalk, clutching her lunchbox and humming her favorite song. The morning sun had just begun to warm the streets, and everything felt normal until she reached the tall iron gate of her school. There, huddled by the post like a forgotten coat, was a skinny, trembling dog. His fur was matted, his ribs slightly visible beneath the dirty golden coat, and his eyes, big, dark, and glassy, locked onto hers like they had been waiting all night. He didn't bark. He didn't growl. He just looked at her, frozen, as if pleading without a sound. Lily slowed to a stop. Her classmates hurried past, barely noticing, but she couldn't move. Something in her chest tightened. This wasn't just a stray dog. There was something about him, a quiet, desperate hope in his gaze. He didn't run. He didn't flinch when she stepped closer. No collar, no tag, just a silent question in his eyes. Asterisk, will you see me? Asterisk. While the teacher stood at the entrance calling students in, the usual morning chatter and footsteps faded into the background for Lily. She couldn't take her eyes off the dog. Ignoring the calls to line up, she slowly knelt beside him, her knees pressing into the concrete. The dog didn't move. He only blinked and lowered his head, as though finally feeling safe. "Are you lost?" she whispered, her voice trembling with concern. The dog leaned forward and gently licked her hand. His tongue was rough, but the gesture was so tender it nearly made her cry. Then, to her surprise, he nudged her backpack softly with his nose. Once, twice, like he was trying to tell her something. Her brows furrowed. She didn't understand what he meant, but her heart squeezed tight. The bell rang, and a teacher's voice called again. Lily looked toward the building, then back at him. He didn't move, didn't beg, just watched. She placed her hand on his head and whispered, "I'll come back for you. I promise." The final bell rang, and the school doors burst open with excited kids racing out, eager to go home. But Lily wasn't thinking about home. Her heart pounded as she sprinted past the playground, her eyes scanning the school gate. She didn't know what she feared more, that he might be gone or that he might still be there, waiting. And then she saw him. The dog sat in the exact same spot, tail wagging weakly when he spotted her. He looked tired but alert, as if he hadn't moved all day. Lily's face lit up. She rushed over, dropped her knees, and opened her backpack. "I saved you my sandwich," she said with a grin, pulling it out and holding it in front of him. But the dog didn't take it. Instead, his nose twitched, and he leaned closer to the backpack. Then, without warning, he began pawing at the bottom flap. Furiously, his claws scratched against the fabric, his body tense with urgency. "Hey, what are you doing?" Lily said, startled. She tried to pull the bag back, but he kept digging, whimpering as if something had to come out. Something was down there, and it wasn't food. Confused and a little shaken, Lily pulled the backpack onto her lap and unzipped the bottom compartment, the one she rarely opened, the one where she usually kept her folded drawings and scraps of paper she didn't want to lose. The dog sat beside her, panting quietly but watching her every move. Her fingers dug to the side pocket, expecting crumpled sketches. Her princesses, her treehouses, the comic strip she'd drawn of her teacher turning into a dragon. But they were gone. In their place was something strange, something heavy and soft. She pulled out slowly, a small velvet pouch, deep maroon in color, with a gold drawstring. Lily's brows furrowed. "What is this?" she murmured. She turned it over in her hands. She knew she hadn't packed this. Hands trembling, she loosened the string and opened the pouch. Inside was something shiny and cold. She reached in and pulled it out. Her breath caught in her throat. It was a necklace, delicate and golden, with a large heart-shaped pendant. Inside the glass locket was a photo of a smiling woman and a tiny child. Lily gasped out loud. She had seen this before, just not in her own bag. Inside was a delicate gold necklace, gleaming softly in the sunlight. Its pendant, a heart-shaped locket, swung slightly as Lily held it up, her wide eyes fixed on the tiny photograph tucked behind its glass, a woman with kind eyes and a baby resting against her shoulder. The image tugged at something inside her, like she'd seen it before. And then it hit her. Her stomach dropped. Just yesterday, a paper had been pinned to the school's main bulletin board. Asterisk, asterisk missing. Gold locket. Last seen in staffroom. Belongs to Mrs. Carter. Sentimental value. Asterisk, asterisk. A printed picture of this very necklace had been stapled to the notice. Mrs. Carter, their science teacher, had nearly cried while telling the class how important it was to her. And now it was in her backpack. Lily's fingers trembled. She looked at the velvet pouch again. Tried to remember. Had someone handed it to her? Had she picked it up by mistake? But no, she would have remembered something like this. Her mind raced with confusion and dread. Why was it in her bag? And who put it there? She looked down at the dog, who now sat quietly beside her, watching her with those deep, knowing eyes, as if he already understood everything. The dog gave a low whine, almost like a plea, then stood and began circling Lily restlessly. He nudged her knee with his nose, took a few steps away, then looked back at her, tail flicking with urgency. Lily stared, unsure. Her heart was still thudding from the shock of finding the locket, but the dog's behavior was impossible to ignore. He wasn't begging for food. He was showing her something. With one last glance at the necklace in her hand, she zipped it back into the velvet pouch and stuffed it in her backpack. Then she stood up and followed him. The dog trotted quickly, pausing to make sure she was behind him. He led her past a side gate, down a narrow path lined with hedges, and around the back of the school where the old gardening shed sat unused. Behind it, hidden beneath thick bushes and overgrown weeds, was a torn, muddy backpack. The dog sniffed at it and stepped aside. Lily hesitated, then crouched and slowly unzipped it. What she found made her eyes go wide. Candy wrappers, broken crayons, pencils, keychains, even a cracked phone case, and at the bottom, several small objects wrapped in tissue. She unwrapped one and found a teacher's wristwatch. Another contained a silver bracelet. These weren't just lost things. They had been stolen. It all clicked at once, like a puzzle snapping into place. Lily remembered a fifth grader named Trevor who often boasted during recess about how he could get anything past anyone. He once bragged to a group of kids that he had a secret stash no one could find. Most students laughed it off, thinking he was bluffing. But now, staring at the pile of stolen items crammed inside the torn backpack, Lily knew he had been telling the truth all along. Her pulse raced. The locket in her bag wasn't some accident. It was planted, slipped in when she wasn't looking, framed, heart pounding. She zipped up the stolen bag and ran as fast as she could, the dog bounding beside her like he understood the urgency. They burst through the main hallway just as a few teachers were leaving. Breathless, Lily called out for the principal. Minutes later, in the office, she laid everything out: the hidden backpack, the stolen items, and the necklace in the velvet pouch. At first, there was confusion. But then one teacher recalled seeing Trevor near Lily's desk during art class, the perfect time to slip something into her bag. When questioned, Trevor denied it, but under pressure, his story unraveled. He finally admitted to everything. Lily's name was cleared. The truth had come out, all because a dog she didn't know had waited for her and refused to let her walk away. The very next morning, an announcement echoed to the school halls. Lily's name had been officially cleared. The principal praised her courage for coming forward, and the teachers commended her honesty and calm under pressure. Whispers turned to cheers. No longer was Lily the girl who might have stolen something. She was the girl who stood up for the truth, with the help of an unlikely friend. As for the dog, his story spread just as quickly. Students called him a hero. Staff members brought him treats and water. The local shelter arrived that afternoon to pick him up, promising to care for him until a family came forward. But they didn't have to wait long. That very evening, Lily's parents, deeply moved by what the dog had done, filled out adoption papers. By the end of the week, he was curled up on a blanket at the foot of Lily's bed, safe and loved. She named him Justice. Every morning after that, he walked her to the school gate, tail wagging proudly. And every afternoon, he waited, not because he was lost or hoping for food, but because he had already found what he was looking for, the girl he was meant to protect.